Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Tom Froese. I'm an illustrator and designer in Vancouver, British Columbia, and this is the Making Friends vidcast. This is where I answer your questions about illustration. So from time to time, students will contact me, or someone who's just starting out in their career will contact me and ask me if I can review their portfolio. And I don't really like this question, and I'll tell you why. It's because a portfolio isn't all there is to the story. It's maybe the most visible thing, of course, and it can either be good or bad in an objective way. But if you're considering the portfolio as part of this person's story, then there's more thought and consideration and time that needs to go into the answer. And for me, that's going to take maybe anywhere between 10-15 minutes just to look at the work and gather my own thoughts on it, and then another 30 or 40 minutes of talking to them, asking them like, what's your story, where did you start? And it could be a more detailed discussion or a little less detailed, but over the whole, it's going to take about an hour of my time to give you a proper portfolio review that will be very helpful for you. Otherwise, I run the risk of critiquing your work on the wrong point at the wrong time in your life. So what might be awesome for one illustrator might be awful for another. If you're just starting out and you've even just started drawing, you may have already put together a very early portfolio if you're really ambitious, and the work just might be reflective of your skill level at that point. If you were an experienced illustrator, the work that I'm looking at might actually not be that great. But if I knew that you're just starting out, then I know this is actually a pretty good effort, and I'll know kind of how to steer you at that early point in your career, in your exploration and journey. I can look at your portfolio and say I like it or I don't like it. It's just not going to be a very helpful critique unless I know exactly where you're at and how I can best help you. You are looking for a portfolio review from me, that will likely be your answer. It'll just be a sort of kind thanks, but no thanks. Now, that being said, there are a handful of things I can tell you about your portfolio without even looking at it. Because 10's a nice round number, I'm going to just give you these 10 things about your portfolio. I would just take these with a grain of salt, and hopefully they'll be helpful to you. So the first thing is show context. A lot of illustrators will just show images of their work. So if it's a digital illustration, they'll save it as a JPEG and post it to the website, and they do this times 10 or 20 or however many pieces they have up on their site, and that's all they show. But it's important to frame that illustration in some context. Help art directors and clients imagine more deeply what this piece could or would have been used for, or was in fact used for. If it's an editorial illustration, at least describe it as an editorial illustration, and of course say what the article was about and even what the name of the magazine was for. If it's illustration for packaging, or if it's three-dimensional or environmental illustrations, say a mural or a beer label, show the illustration on the beer label, show a photo of the mural. So show the work in the context so people see it as a real thing. The next thing is show quality. So you want to show your best work in the best way possible. If you have images that you feel are possibly mediocre and not that great, the chances are that it's actually not that great. And so make sure you're satisfied with the quality of your images before posting them on your site. And of course, choose the highest quality jobs that you've done. If something looks a little bit dingy and ratty, if that look isn't really your thing, then it's probably a good idea to just keep that off of your portfolio. So the third thing is, and I've already briefly touched on this, is to briefly explain or describe the project. So this is part of giving context to your work. You have an image, let's just say it's an editorial image that you did. It's like a one-page feature illustration. So include a little blurb that just says, this is a feature illustration for a story about X in this magazine, and name the magazine. And then you could even briefly describe the concept. You don't need to do more than the whole thing. The whole paragraph shouldn't be more than a tweet's length. Like, you don't have to write multiple paragraphs about it. Your image, first and foremost, should speak for itself. But of course, just looking at an image, you're not going to be able to know everything about it, especially the context or who it was for. So the fourth thing is to assume nobody cares about you. And this particularly pertains to your About page. So when someone goes to the About page to find out more about who the illustrator behind all the work is, it's important that you write just the most essential information about yourself. So you just want to let people know who you are, what you do, what you specialize in, why you illustrate, and who you've worked for, or other things that kind of establish your credibility as an illustrator. But you don't have to be too flowery about the language. You certainly don't have to make yourself seem super cool and unapproachable. Maybe save that for when you don't need to be watching my videos anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, you don't have to be super creative in how you write about yourself. You just need to be clear and professional and tell the story straight. And of course, add a personal touch by saying where you live, and perhaps, like, name a pet, or so you live in the mountains with your family, or whatever it is. Just add a touch just to, show that you're human. But that's going to be like one sentence. So just go and look at Illustrators' website bios and see what they say about themselves, how they talk about themselves, and determine, like, is it pretentious? Is it straightforward? How do you feel when you read it? Does it make them approachable? Does it make them feel unapproachable? And imagine how you want to be perceived by your clients on your own bio. I think the general takeaways here is just to be authentic, clear, and straightforward. The fifth thing is pretty important, and it seems so basic, but make it easy to get in touch with you. I can't even count how many Illustrators pages I've gone to, and they don't even have their email address on it or even a phone number. They just have a contact form. A contact form might be useful if you're a multinational corporation, but you're an individual, you're a human, you're a person, and your clients and art directors are going to approach you as an individual, not as a corporation. They want to send an email to a person. If you're trying to write an email or a message in one of these contact forms, when you press send, you don't know where that's going. You don't get the sense that you've reached a person, and you've sent something out into the void. And at least if you write an email, at least you have a copy of what you sent. If I'm talking from the client's perspective, like if I'm writing an email to you, at least when I send it, I have a record of what I sent you, and I know I sent it to you, and we can converse over that. Make it easy to contact you. Provide at least your email address. Include your phone number if you can. Okay, so the next one is curate. Curating is where you're just showing your best work and cutting out all the stuff that might be okay, but it's not the best. You really just want to create a collection of your work that feels concise and harmonious, that there's a common thread through it. And this is especially important if a lot of your work is different from each other. And this has often been the case in my own work. I have sort of a diverse body of work, and it sort of ranges from more tight and vector-y feeling to a little bit more loosey-goosey and inky. And the important thing for me is to show that common thread. What is my overarching style, my tone, my personality that comes across in all of it? So I try and select work that relates to each other, and then I also try and present it in a way that makes it look even more like a family. So that, in concrete terms, for me means on my Squarespace website, my template has the grid of all my thumbnails on the home page. So when you go there, you can see all my work at a glance. And then I'm very purposeful about what work is shown at the top of the fold. It's usually my newer work and my best work. And then within that, I just try to, I don't show like an entire illustration for all of them. I usually just show a thumbnail, like some kind of like cropped in part of an image that shows an interesting, intriguing part that hopefully someone will want to click in to see more of. But as a whole, it creates a nice tapestry and of color and images that kind of show an overview of who I am as an illustrator. Okay, so the next one is keep your website about your work, okay? So don't have a funky website. I know it's not 2001 anymore, so I know you guys know better than to make your work look like some kind of physical objects, some kind of skeuomorphic like portfolio looking thing with your, your work flying out of it or something weird like that. Just have a white background, simple gallery style page that shows your work. The little touches of personality and style that you'll add to it, aside from the work itself, which is what the most important thing is of course you want to just have a personalized logo, something you've made, and then maybe choose a typeface that's appropriate to the feeling of your of your work, and hopefully kind of matches in terms of style and color to your logo in some way. So that, what that exactly looks like could be like, you could really go down the rabbit hole with that. If in doubt, just keep it simple. Even just use a font that you like for your name, as long as it's clean and clear. But of course, if you're an illustrator, try and find a way of styling your name in a way that matches your illustration style. I would avoid using any kind of weird blog platform or something like that. In 2018, we have too many options to be using things like Tumblr or even like a WordPress blog template for our work. I doubt very many people are doing this anyway, but I'd say, the big guys that everyone's using right now are Squarespace, Wix, even Cargo Collective has recently updated their offerings, so they're kind of competing with Squarespace now. Those are just three to name just a few. Behance is a good option. It's a little bit more collective feeling, so you're part of this kind of collective of illustrators versus like an individual with your own homepage. At least Behance is, it looks good and it comes included with your Adobe subscription if you're using Adobe Creative Cloud. And I think Adobe actually has now something called Portfolio. So if you subscribe to Adobe Creative Cloud, you have access to Adobe Portfolio, and that's an equally valid option if you're looking for a nice, clean website for your portfolio. So the 8th thing kind of relates back to one of the things I said before, which is to think about near and far, overview and details. So imagine someone will come to your homepage first. Ideally, they'll come to your homepage and they'll see your overview. You want to think about that first experience. You want them to look at that overview and get a picture of who you are at a glance. So choose your images, choose your thumbnails, whatever they are, as a collection. Consider them as a collection, an overview of you as an illustrator. And then when they click on any one of those, that's your opportunity to go into more detail and explain more, describe more about the images. You can't expect someone to be able to wade through a screen full of thumbnails or smaller pictures of your work when they get to your homepage and be able to sort of make up their minds about what each project is about. You just want to give them teasers, some little a tray of chocolates, something to be like, ooh, I like that. And when they take interest, they click in, then they can go and you can reveal more about that project. So once you get into the details of that project, you're in the project gallery, you're going to have, a few images and your explanation, your description, and that's it. Okay, so here's another one. Have a good profile pic for your bio, like a good bio photo that's been taken by a professional. So I can't count the amount of times I was asked for a photo of myself for various things that I've worked on. And it's always just been like a weird picture that I'm super embarrassed to have even shown anyone, let alone it being published in a magazine. Because sometimes as a contributor, you'll be asked if you can have a photo so they can do a little headshot of you. It's nice if you can have a headshot that actually shows you at your best with good lighting and all that kind of thing. Once I got my professional headshot done, it was a game changer for me. I was suddenly proud to share my profile pic, and it made me feel like I was really professional and on a different level. And I think that's great. I think if a photo can make you feel more confident as an illustrator, that's important. And just relating back to your portfolio website, have a nice professionally shot photo of you on your website. It could be you looking directly at the camera, or it could be you kind of at work on your computer or whatever it is. It should be well lit, nicely shot. You should look like you're wearing the clothes you like to be seen in, and this is my own personal opinion. I don't know why people, when they get their photos taken, they have to look into the distance look angry or upset or too cool for school. Like just be yourself. Get a photographer who can like bring out a smile out of you in a very authentic way. Even if you're not smiling, you don't have to look like you're unapproachable. It could just be that you have a warmth to you. Okay, and finally, the 10th thing is show the kind of work that you want to do. I'm sure you've heard this before. Don't put something in your portfolio that if a client sees it and picks it, you'll be like, oh, why did they pick that? I don't want to do that again. And so like as much as you can, try and show work that you would love to do more of. And this is hard to do when you're starting out because you can't be picky. The jobs you get are not going to be your dream jobs. And you're going to have to show some work to show that you are legitimate and you're working and can be trusted. So when you're starting out, you're just going to have to show the best work based on like who the client was and that you can actually solve problems. But over time, this is going to evolve and you're going to find projects you're more and more happy with, excited about sharing. And eventually you'll have only projects that you're excited about sharing. And you'll have the opposite problem where like you'll have too many to show and you'll have to cut some of them out. I would just prioritize in terms of like, is the image something that you're really proud of and would love to illustrate like that again in terms of style or approach, or whether it's in like a magazine that you love. So like make sure the style of the image is something you like. Then B, is the client important? Is it impressive? Is it something that someone else will say, oh, he's done work for the New York Times or such and such a client? That means he's being scouted by important people in the industry and he's doing work that other people are, it reflects well on you. Other than that, I would just keep out work that just doesn't show well. And that if the test is, if you imagine a client picking that job and asking you to do it again and you would hate to do it, just don't show it on your portfolio. It might seem at the time like you just need it to populate out your body of work and it looks like you've done more projects, but ultimately, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. So see if there's a way of maybe fluffing up your portfolio in a way that doesn't need that particular piece that you hate. Okay, so that's it today, guys. Basically, I've talked about why I won't do portfolio reviews for everyone who asks, and then I've given you 10 kind of pointers that you can apply regardless of where you're at in your portfolio. So I hope that's really helped, guys. And this question kind of just, it's a question that a lot of people have asked. So I don't have any particular names to attach us, but if you have asked that, thank you for your question. I hope this is a satisfactory answer for you. What do you guys think? Is there something that I've left out? Is there something else that you would include in your portfolio or in this list of advice? What have you done to your portfolio that's really brought it to the next level? Or what have you done that you feel like maybe you wouldn't do again? I'd be interested to know in the comments. Also, if you have any questions about illustration, please just ask me in the comments, and that's the best way of getting a hold of me for this. Again, my name's Tom Froese. You can find me on the web at tomfroese.com and on Instagram at Mr. Tom Froese. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. And if you like the channel, please subscribe. That's the best way of knowing that I'm making content that people enjoy and are finding useful. All right, guys, have a great week. Keep making great work and keep asking great questions.